the 10th of November 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you tonight's bulletin for the Newsfirst team. I am Jayamal Ratnayaka.
And I am Hashini Pathirana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Schoolboy dead and 46 others injured in a bus accident in Thalava. Namal Rajapaksa at SLFP headquarters to discuss preparations for November 21st opposition rally.
Sri Lanka නිදහස් පක්ෂයත් ඒ ප්‍රධාන පාර්ශවකරුවෙක් විදියට විශාල වැඩ කොටසක් කරනවා. ඒත් සහ අපේ පාක්ෂිකයෝ එක රාශී කර ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය වැඩපිළිවෙල සාකච්ඡා කරගන්න අපි ආවා.
SJB to make a final decision before November 21st on joining the opposition alliance.
21ට ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි තීරණාත්මක තීන්දුවක් ගන්න.
Harin Fernando assumes duties as UNP Deputy General Secretary for political mobilization. Plans for talks with SLPP.
පක්ෂ නායකයෝ එහෙම නැත්නම් තනතුරු දරන කට්ටිය මොන මතයක් දැරුවත් සජීව පාක්ෂිකව නැවත වතාවක් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය ඇතුළට එම බලක් ගන්න හම්බ වෙන එකක් නැහැ.
Opposition activists lead protests demanding fair prices for potatoes and big onions. All share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange crosses 23,500 points for the first time.
In news just in, 8 people were killed and 24 injured after a high-intensity explosion ripped through a car this evening at the Red Fort area of New Delhi, one of India's most high-profile areas. Now, the blast took place around 7 p.m. near Chandni Chowk metro station, leaving mangled bodies and wrecked cars scattered in the area. Now, according to Delhi police, it was claimed to be a very powerful explosion. Mumbai, Jaipur, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand are on high alert after the blast, and visuals showed a van with its doors blown off, a completely mangled car, another with a smashed windscreen and crumpled bodies on the ground.
Around 25 engines were dispatched to the scene, and the police have cordoned off the entire area, which sees heavy tourist traffic all year. The nature of the blast is not yet known. The Red Fort, also known as Lal Kila, is located in the congested Old Delhi area of the national capital. It is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Delhi. As per eyewitnesses, the blast occurred from a sedan vehicle. The blast took place on a day a massive haul of 2,900 kilograms of explosives was found just 50 kilometers away in neighboring Faridabad in Haryana. It is also a day before the second round of polling in Bihar.
लाल किले के ऊपर बम ब्लास्ट बहुत बड़ा हुआ है इस समय।
On to news from here at home. A bus accident in Thalava, Anuradhapura this afternoon claimed the life of a 17-year-old schoolboy and left 47 others injured. Hospital sources confirmed that 3 of the injured are in critical condition and are receiving treatment at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. Among the injured are 9 school children.
The accident occurred when a bus travelling from Thalava to 411 village overturned near Jaigaga Junction, about 1 kilometre past Thalava town. The bus has departed Thalava around 12:30 p.m. After passing Thalava town and travelling more than 1 kilometre, the bus overturned about 6 feet down near Jayagaga Junction. At the time of the accident, 47 passengers were on board, including 9 school children who had either faced the advanced level examination or attended an ordinary level seminar earlier in the day. Following the accident, the injured were first admitted to Thalava Regional Hospital. A student who was inside the bus described how the accident occurred.
බස් එක ස්පීඩ් ආවා බයික් එක උතා ඉස්සරහින් මේ ආරාසේ බයික් එක ඉස්සරහ වැදුනා බයික් එක යදගෙන ගියා මේ බස් එක අරයට කපවා ආයෙ මෙහෙට කපවෙ නැහැ එහෙම පෙරලිලා ගියා.
ඇත්තට මේක මේ පොඩි පුළුල් මේ පටු පාරක් තියෙන්නේ එහා පැත්තෙන් ගඟ තියෙන්නේ ඊට පස්සේ මේ අනාරක්ෂිත ගස් ගොඩක් පාත් වෙලා තිනවා මේ පාර දිගට.
All injured passengers were later transferred from Thalava Hospital to Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital for further treatment. Currently, 47 individuals are receiving treatment at Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital, including 31 women.
One school boy died after admission. He was a 17-year-old male student. 3 others are critically injured and we are providing all necessary treatment. The rest have minor injuries. Our team, including specialist doctors, is attending to all patients.
The deceased student had attended an ordinary level exam seminar earlier today and was returning home. He was a student of Thalava National School and a resident of 411 village. Meanwhile, North Central Province Governor Wasantha Jinadasa stated that the bus driver has been taken into police custody.
The situation is now fully under control. All specialist doctors and hospital staff are focused on providing the necessary care and taking every required measure. At this point, I can confirm that the situation is being managed effectively. The hospital director and other medical teams have assured us that conditions are under control. We have also discussed the matter with the police and investigations have already commenced. The driver of the private bus involved in the accident is currently in police custody.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has been assigned the primary responsibility of managing the organisational network to mobilise public participation for the upcoming rally by several opposition groups in Nugegoda. Now this is according to party spokesperson Sanjeeva Edirimana. Today SLPP national organiser Namal Rajapaksa visited the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters for discussions on organising the joint rally.
Joining MP Namal Rajapaksa at the meeting were Johnston Fernando, D.V. Chanaka and Sanjeev Edirimana, while the SLFP was represented by Duminda Disanayaka, Lasantha Lagiyawanna, Anura Priyadarshana and Chamara Sampath Dasanayaka, among others.
මොකද මේ අද විශේෂ සාකච්ඡාව අවුරුදු 10කින් විතර නේද මේ නිදහස් පක්ෂ මූලස්ථානයට අවිලා තින්නේ.
මොකද අපි 21 වෙනිදා විපක්ෂ
We are organising an opposition rally in Nugegoda on the 21st. The SLFP is playing a key role in this event. So we came to discuss the arrangements and how to mobilise our supporters.
සඳහා අවශ්‍ය වැඩපිළිවෙල සාකච්ඡා කරගන්න අපි ආවා.
මේ ආකාරයෙන්ම සමග ජන බලවේගයක් හම්බ වෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
අප විපක්ෂයේ භූමිකාව අවංකව ඉෂ්ට සිද්ධ කරන ඕනෑම පක්ෂයක් එක්ක අපි සාකච්ඡා කරනවා.
අපි දැක සරත් වංශක මහත්මයාත් කියන ඔය කොච්චර හැදුවත් ඔය පැල කරන්න බෑ කියලා දැන් මේ මැරිච්ච ගස් කියලා.
එතුමාගේට මගේ හිතේ ලොකු ගෞරවයක් තියෙනවා.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහතාත් සහභාගී වෙනවද?
නෑ එතුමා සහභාගී වෙන්නේ නෑ. එතුමාගේ පූර්ණ ආශිර්වාදය තියෙනවා.
දැන් අද මොකද්ද සාකච්ඡාව? කරන්නේ යාළුවෝ හම්බුණාද?
නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පොහොට්ටුවේ කණ්ඩායමක් ආවා. දිරියේදී මේ 21 වෙනිදා රැස්වීම පිළිබඳව සාකච්ඡා කරන්නත්. ඒ වගේම කොහොමද පක්ෂවල වෙනම ප්‍රතිපත්ති තිබුණත් ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය ආරක්ෂා කර ගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් කොහොමද අපි මේක එකතු වෙන්නේ කියන කාරණා.
This is a highly respectable collective effort. There is nothing to hide. Regarding public participation and coordination of the organizational network, we have taken on a leading role at the invitation of all the involved parties. Harin Fernando announced that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and other parties are scheduled to hold discussions with the United National Party on Wednesday. He made this statement today at the UNP headquarters, Sirikota, while assuming duties as the Deputy General Secretary for Political Mobilization. Prior to taking office, Harin Fernando and his team offered floral tributes at the Buddhist shrine in front of the Sirikota headquarters. Speaking at the event, Harin Fernando warned that if the Samagi Jana Balawegaya does not reunite with the UNP, those who left will eventually return to the UNP.
හරින් ප්‍රනාදු මහතා මෙහිදී අනුතුරු අඟවා සිටියේ සමග ජනබලවේගය එක්සත් ජාති.
The UNP has always had a clear political policy. We need to bring in a new youthful face to strengthen that policy. Over the next 6 months, we will work to create a powerful UNP force across the country. I firmly believe we will work closely with the SJB. Our chairman and general secretary are already making significant efforts. Let me remind everyone, the SJB was created by UNP members. But today, there is a strong demand from the grassroots for the UNP and SJB to unite. If party leaders fail to act, those who left to form the SJB will return to the UNP. Leadership must make a decision on this.
Harin Fernando also revealed plans for a new program aimed at educating the country's youth under the theme Learn with Ranil.
Starting next month, we will launch the Learn with Ranil program. It will be a 2-hour session where young people can register online, attend and ask questions directly from Ranil Wickramasinghe. Every 2 weeks, we will hold these sessions across the country and they will be streamed online. This initiative will allow youth to learn politics from an experienced leader and will modernize our approach to party engagement.
පාක්ෂිකයන්ට නැවත වතාවක් අර තිබ්බ ශාඛා සමිති ක්‍රමයට එහා ගිය අලුත් වූ මොඩර්නයිස් ක්‍රමයක් පටන් ගන්නවා.
Is the Samagi Jana Balawegaya ready to join the alliance?
අවසාන තීන්දුවක් තාම නැහැ 21කට තව කල් තියෙනවා.
No final decision has been made yet. There's time until the 21st. The truth is, we are the strongest opposition. We hold the majority. Some personal opinions have been presented to the media to build certain images. But as a united opposition, our SJB team stands together. We will make a decisive decision before the 21st. If we decide not to participate, that decision is still 50-50. If that happens, we will show our strength in the future, and we can show it.
එහෙමුණත් අපි අනාගතයේදී ළඟදීම අපි ඒක හයිය පෙන්වනවා අපිට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්.
The Democratic National Organization held a press briefing.
මම දැක්ක දැන් ඊයේ පෙරේදා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාත් එයත් කියනවා ඉන්ද නුගේගොට්ට ඒකාධිපති විවුර පවරද්දන්න කියලා.
I saw yesterday and the day before Ranil Wickramasinghe saying, come to Nugegoda to defeat the authoritarian madness. Honestly, when we hear that, we can't help but laugh. During the people's struggle, Ranil Wickremesinghe asked everyone to join the protests and even formed a committee to support the struggle, appointing Ruwan Wijewardena as its head. He invited the public to rise up. But after taking power, the same people who were asked to protest were brutally suppressed. We know how these so-called champions of democracy behaved when in power, acting like dictators. They postponed provincial council elections, claiming there was no money, saying the printing department had no paper and that there were no funds for an election. That is how they operated. Now, when legal action is being taken against fraud, corruption and abusers committed during their time in power, they suddenly have a problem. So, this call to come on the 21st is nothing more than an attempt to protect themselves and escape accountability.
මේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සු ටික දඩමීම කරගෙන අර ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න ටික බේර ගන්න තමයි 21 වෙනිදා එන්න කියන්නේ.
Former Minister Keheliya Rabukwella and his wife appeared before the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption today. This was to provide a statement in relation to an investigation on money laundering. Both left after providing statements for over 5 hours. Colombo High Court Judge Mohammed Bihal rejected a preliminary objection filed by the defence, which sought to dismiss a case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption against former Minister Lakshman Yapa Abewardena and former Director General of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Jayantha Edirisinghe. The objection was raised during a previous hearing by President's Counsel Sanjay Rajaratnam and Anuja Premaratne, appearing for the defendants, arguing that the indictment filed by the Bribery Commission could not be maintained and should therefore be dismissed. Delivering the ruling, High Court Judge Mohammed Bihal announced that the preliminary objections were overruled and scheduled the case for pre-trial conference on the 16th of December. The Bribery Commission filed 5 indictments against the defendants under the Anti-Corruption Act, alleging that on the 19th of November 2014, in connection with the second presidential term of Mahinda Rajapaksa, the defendants caused a loss of over 1.7 million rupees to the government by publishing 11 newspaper supplements using funds from the Board of Investment. The prosecution is expected to present 15 witnesses and 21 documentary exhibits.
The war on drugs. For our children, for our tomorrow.
Sri Lanka's crime and narcotics eradication operations conducted on Sunday along saw 755 individuals taken into custody. Now a total of 32,401 individuals were subjected to checks.
During Sunday's crime and narcotics eradication operations, 32 individuals were directly identified as being involved in criminal activities. 311 were wanted suspects and 199 were individuals with open warrants. Additionally, 22 drunk drivers were apprehended. A pharmacy owner engaged in drug trafficking targeting school children in Sidua was arrested. Police stated that over 13,600 narcotic pills were found in the suspect's possession. The suspect's assistant was also taken into custody. In another development, 2 smartphones used by inmates at the Busa High Security Prison were seized by the Police Special Task Force. Police revealed that one device was recovered from the cell of Dematagoda Chaminda, a notorious organized criminal, though it had been damaged by smashing it on the floor. Another smartphone belonging to a different inmate was also found damaged and thrown out through a rear window of the prison. Separately, Sadika Lakshani, wife of Bako Saman, who is currently in detention, was produced before the Vaunia Magistrates Court in connection with a forged travel document. The case was postponed until the 24th of this month.
Biz Fast.
The Colombo Stock Exchange crossed 23,500 points today for the first time.
For the first time in history, the Colombo Stock Exchange All-Share Price Index crossed the 23,500 point mark today. At around 9:40 a.m., the ASPI recorded 23,563 points. By the close of trading, the ASPI stood at 23,502.59 points. The total turnover for the day was 7.5 billion rupees.
The Asian Development Bank has approved a $100 million financing package to build on Sri Lanka's progress toward macroeconomic stability and to help achieve sustainable growth following the economic crisis. This will be done by strengthening public expenditure management, improving revenue mobilization and fostering private sector participation.
The Asian Development Bank has approved a $100 million financing package to support Sri Lanka's ongoing efforts to stabilize its economy and lay the groundwork for sustainable, inclusive growth following the country's worst financial crisis in decades. The funding will focus on strengthening public expenditure management, enhancing domestic revenue mobilization and fostering private sector participation. ADB country manager for Sri Lanka, Takafumi Kadono, said that Sri Lanka has made commendable progress in restoring fiscal and debt sustainability. This program also aims to improve the credibility and execution of public expenditure, enhance domestic revenue mobilization and foster a more predictable and transparent investment climate. The initiative aims to streamline budgetary processes, improve transparency in public spending and ensure better resource allocation. It also supports the development of a multi-year tax compliance strategy and deeper international tax cooperation following Sri Lanka's recent membership in the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes. A key component of the program is the creation of a modern legal framework for public-private partnerships, also known as PPPs, aligned with international best practices. This is expected to unlock climate finance and attract private investment into critical sectors.
Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya has laid out a transformative roadmap for Sri Lanka's tea industry, calling for a shift from tradition to innovation and from exploitation to empowerment. Speaking at the International Tea Symposium, Prime Minister Amarasuriya made it clear that the future of tea lies not just in exports but in rethinking the entire value chain from land use and labour conditions to research and branding.
Approximately 90% of Sri Lanka's tea production is exported to more than 140 countries. Since its introduction, tea has represented Sri Lanka on the global stage, with Ceylon tea recognized internationally for quality and authenticity. As a government, we aim to further expand this progress and have set a target of 400 million kilograms of made tea and $2.5 billion in export earnings by 2030. We've spoken about the legacy of Ceylon tea. This is our strength, and this is what we need to protect, and this is what we need to enhance. We need to think perhaps about not just the production of tea, but its related aspects, the conditions, the amount of land that we have dedicated to tea. Key challenges for the sector include rising production costs, labor shortages, climate change, evolving consumer preferences. And these challenges are going to define the TRI's role in the years and months to come. As a government, we understand that long-term investment in research is indispensable. Women have long played a central role from plucking tea to research and administration. We often portray the woman, the tea plucker, in our branding of tea. More than 60% of the labor force in the sector comprises women. Their contributions deserve recognition. From snake bites to injuries sustained while plucking tea leaves, they have faced significant hardships and yet form the backbone of the industry. They lack proper housing and access to childcare, sanitation, which adds to their challenges. These women must be provided with adequate access to education, training, safe working conditions, fair wages, and equitable opportunities for advancement. Any industry can thrive only when its workforce is recognized as its core strength. Our government remains committed to improving the quality of life for the plantation community. In the 2026 Sri Lankan budget presented on the 7th of November 2025, a proposal was made to increase the daily wage for plantation workers from 1,350 to a potential 1,750. This includes an increase in the base daily wage to rupees 1,150 along with the government proposed daily attendance incentive of rupees 200. The wage increase is scheduled to take effect from January 2026. This marks the beginning of our efforts to ensure fair compensation and improved living standards for those who sustain the industry.
The Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka celebrates 100 years of excellence in 2025. TRI was first established in 1925 as an arm of the Planters Association of Ceylon in order to enrich the tea industry through professional research findings.
The TRI has made significant contributions to elucidating the biochemical components of black tea and its health benefits, while developing a diverse range of products such as a tea wine, a carbonated drink, and tea extracts for manufacture of chilled beverages. The TRI has provided benchmarks and guidance for ensuring economic sustainability of the tea production via assessment of costs of different steps of the process, while introducing alternative worker deployment models as a solution for the prevailing labor shortage and out-migration of labor from the tea plantations. In parallel to its research program, the TRI provides an advisory and extension service which is highly sought after by managers of large plantations as well as smallholders.
The 100-year celebrations in Colombo brought together industrial experts and other heavily involved in the country's tea sector.
A delegation from the Asia-New Zealand Foundation Leadership Network visited the Pathfinder Foundation as part of their engagement in Sri Lanka today.
A delegation from the Asia-New Zealand Foundation Leadership Network visited the Pathfinder Foundation as part of the engagement in Sri Lanka. The meeting was chaired by David Pine, High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka, and Milinda Morogada, founder of the Pathfinder Foundation. Discussions centered on key topics such as managing the geopolitics of trade and identifying strategic options for small economies, recovery policies following Sri Lanka's economic crisis, and regional security and maritime challenges from a Sri Lankan perspective. The engagement aims to strengthen policy dialogue and cooperation between New Zealand and Sri Lanka in areas of mutual interest.
The purpose of this meeting is to gather information on Sri Lanka's situation politically, economically, and our status in the region as an important location geopolitically. Pathfinder Foundation has relationships with many countries, particularly within the region, and we have from time to time conducted seminars, workshops, and similar events focusing on the economy of the country, security situation, strategic issues, and ocean-related matters. So what we are having today is one of such instances where we brief foreign participants on the developments taking place in Sri Lanka.
2 Sri Lankan workers were found dead in a South Korean fish farm tank. In addition, the remains of their South Korean supervisor was also discovered following missing persons complaint was filed.
A tragic incident in Goseong County, South Gyeongsang in South Korea has claimed the lives of 2 Sri Lankan migrant workers along with a site supervisor after their bodies were discovered inside a water tank at a land-based fish farm. The South Gyeongsang Police Agency confirmed that the victims, 2 Sri Lankans in their 20s and 30s and a Korean supervisor in his 50s, were found around 8:30 p.m. Korean time yesterday inside a large reservoir tank used to supply water to juvenile fish breeding units. The tank, measuring 4 meters wide, 3 meters long and 2 meters deep, was filled with water and accessible only through a narrow opening and ladder. Police were alerted after the supervisor's family reported him missing at 7:38 p.m. Korean time, prompting officers to inspect the site. One of the Sri Lankan workers was reportedly dressed in work attire, while the other 2 individuals were in regular clothing, raising questions about the nature of their presence in the tank. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility of an industrial accident, and an autopsy is scheduled to determine the exact cause of death. Investigators are exploring whether the victims were attempting to clean the tank or were involved in another task when the incident occurred. Protests were held today in Kapatipola and Nuwara organised by opposition political activists demanding a guaranteed price for potatoes and big onions.
The protest in Kapatipola took place in front of the economic centre with demonstrators blocking the entrance. They claimed that despite sufficient stocks of locally grown potatoes and big onions to meet market demand, the government was unfairly importing these items and urged authorities to impose taxes and restrict imports. Indika Disanayaka, organizer for Uva Paranagama, under the Samagi Jana Balawegaya led the protest. He stated that farmers need a price of 250 to 300 rupees per kilogram of potatoes.
අද අර්ථපල් ඉන්දියාවෙන් ගේනවා නම් අන හැම දෙයක්ම ගේනවා නම් ඉන්දියාවේ ගොවියෝ රජසභ විදිනකොට අපේ ගොවියෝ අද මහපාරේ හිඟන තත්ත්වයට වැටිලා ඉන්නේ. ඒක නිසා මේ සටන අපි අරන් යනවා.
Newsfirst correspondent reported that although shops at the Kapatipola Economic Centre were open, farmers did not bring their produce today. In Nuwara, the protest began near the International Buddhist Centre and marched through the town to the economic centre. In support of the protest, shops at the Nuwara Economic Centre were closed.
අතිරික්ත නිෂ්පාදනයක් කළ පිටරට දෙන්න පුළුවන් තැනක අපි ඉඳිද්දි ඇයි මේ අල ගෙන්නන්නේ අල ගෙන්නන එකෙන් වෙන්නේ අපේ රටේ අනිත් භෝග වැඩි වෙන එක. ඒ කියන්නේ අල වගා කරන බිම් සීමාව 140ක් උනේ නැත්නම් අනිත් භෝග වැඩි වෙනවා.
බීජ අර්ථාපල් හොන්ඩරයක් රුපියල් 40000ක් වෙනවා. රුපියල් 160කට අල දීලා කොහමද ගොවියා ජීවත් වෙන්නේ?
Meanwhile, a group of onion farmers from Galevilla staged a protest in front of the Dambula Economic Centre demanding 200 rupees per kilogram for big onions.
ලූණු වලට නිෂ්පාදන වියදමට හරි මිලක් නැහැ ඉන්දියාවෙන් ආනයනය කරනවා අපි බදු ගහන්න කිව්වා රජයට මීට පෙර ගහන බද්ද ගහනකොට පහුවෙලා.
Newsfirst correspondent confirmed that vegetable stocks arrived at the Dambula Economic Centre as usual today. Additionally, economic centres in Paliagoda, Tamuttegama and other areas operated as usual. Minister of Trade Wasantha Samarasinghe announced in Parliament that potato and onion harvests will be purchased through Sathusa. Speaking during the second reading of the appropriation bill, the minister stated that 1 billion rupees has been allocated for this initiative.
Through the cooperative wholesale establishment, we will ensure that from 2026 onwards, no farmer is left stranded. Potatoes and onions will be purchased through the CWE. We have allocated 1 billion rupees for this. If we can procure at least 20% from the market, we can stabilize prices within 2 months. Additional funds can be allocated if necessary, as this is being done for farmers' protection. We have not imposed new taxes on the public. Some taxes were introduced only to safeguard farmers. 80 rupees on potatoes and 50 rupees on onions. At the same time, we have reduced prices of 40 essential items by an average of 17.7%. These are the most commonly sold goods in the market. There are 12 items where prices increased by 9.6%. But overall, we have implemented measures to reduce the cost of living and provide relief to the people.
මේ විදිහට අපි බඩු මිල අඩු කරලා ජනතාවට සහන දෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කරන වැඩපිළිවෙල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තියෙනවා.
News first with the people.
Senators in the United States have voted to move forward with a stopgap funding package aimed at ending the longest government shutdown in the country's history. In a procedural vote on Sunday, some 8 Democrats spoke rank and voted in favor of advancing the Republican measure, which will keep the government open into the 30th of January.
A deal aimed at ending the US government shutdown has passed the Senate, paving the way for the record-breaking impasse to be broken. After a weekend of negotiations in Washington, a minority of Democrats joined the Republicans and voted in favor of an agreement. The vote is a procedural first step towards passing a compromise to fund the government since it ran out of money on the 1st of October. It will need to clear several more hurdles, including a vote from the House of Representatives before federal employees and services return. But it is the first serious sign of progress after 40 days of deadlock. The current shutdown is the longest on record in the US, and until this weekend it appeared that the Republican and Democratic lawmakers were locked in a stalemate. Many government services have been suspended since October, and around 1.4 million federal employees are on unpaid leave or working without pay. The shutdown has also had wide-ranging impacts on a variety of services, including US air travel and food benefits for 41 million low-income Americans. The agreement was negotiated between Senate Majority Leader John Thune and the White House, with Democratic Senators John Shaheen and Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire and Angus King of Maine, an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. Republicans, who hold a 53-47 majority in the Senate, needed the measure to clear a 60-vote minimum threshold. They were able to attract 8 votes from the other side of the aisle, while losing just one in Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who voted against after saying the bill would increase national debt. The deal includes an agreement for a vote in December on extending healthcare subsidies that are due to expire this year, a key issue Democrats had been holding out for concessions on. Some high-profile Democrats have been highly critical of colleagues who sided with Republicans to end the shutdown without concrete guarantees on healthcare, with California Governor Gavin Newsom calling the decision pathetic. The measure also includes 3 appropriation bills to fund agencies like Veterans Affairs and Agriculture, as well as a continuing resolution to finance the rest of the government until the 30th of January, meaning another government shutdown could be on the horizon early next year. It also includes guarantees that all federal workers will be paid for time during the shutdown and funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or SNAP, an essential food safety net for 1 in 8 Americans until next September. A vote on the deal would only be the first procedural step in the new funding agreement, and it would still need to be approved by the US House of Representatives, where it is likely to see its own challenges. The head of the BBC and the British broadcaster's top news executive both resigned yesterday after criticism of the way the organisation edited a speech by US President Donald Trump. The BBC said Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnus had both decided to leave the corporation.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you.
BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnus have both resigned following mounting criticism over a Panorama documentary that allegedly misled viewers by editing a speech by the US President Donald Trump.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you, and we fight.
The resignations announced yesterday evening come amid a storm of controversy after a leaked internal memo revealed that the documentary stitched together 2 separate parts of Trump's January 6, 2021 speech, originally delivered over 50 minutes apart to make it appear as though he was inciting the Capitol Hill riot. The fallout has been swift and severe. Political leaders in the UK expressed hope that the resignations would mark a turning point for the BBC, while Trump himself welcomed the move, accusing the broadcaster of doctoring his perfect speech and undermining democracy. Davie, who served as Director General for 5 years, said the current debate around BBC News had understandably. Turnus, who led BBC and Current Affairs for 3 years, said the Panorama controversy had reached a point where it was causing damage to the BBC. She said, quote, "The buck stops with me," end quote, while rejecting claims of institutional bias.
To make one thing very clear, BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
The leaked memo, authored by former editorial advisor Michael Prescott, also raised concerns about BBC Arabic's coverage of the Israel-Gaza war, alleged censorship in reporting of trans issues and editorial breaches in recent programming, including a Glastonbury broadcast that violated guidelines on harm and offence. BBC Chairman Samir Shah, who is expected to address Parliament today, called it a sad day for the BBC while defending Davies' leadership.
The Philippines has been hit by back-to-back powerful typhoons. Super Typhoon Fung Wong made landfall in the Philippines, bringing fierce rain and winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour, less than a week after Typhoon Kalmegi devastated parts of the country.
A weakening typhoon Fung Wong has departed the Philippines after killing at least 2 people, displacing 1.4 million and destroying homes and roads across the country's most populous island. Rescue workers kicked off recovery efforts today morning across Luzon, home to some 64 million people, as the government lifted all travel restrictions. Crews wielding power tools, saws and heavy machinery began tackling wreckage, while thousands of Philippine Coast Guard, police and military personnel assumed posts to aid evacuees and assist in rescue operations. The typhoon, which packed winds of 185 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 230 kilometers per hour, made landfall on Aurora province yesterday evening, unleashing heavy rains and knocking out power to thousands of people. Nearly 320,000 people remain in evacuation shelters. Bringing to an update from the Delhi explosion, 13 people have been killed and 24 have been injured after a high-intensity explosion ripped through a car with the passengers this evening near Delhi's historic Red Fort, one of India's most high-profile spots. Now, the blast took place near the Red Fort metro station, leaving mangled bodies and wrecked cars shattered in the busy area. Now, India's premier terror probe agency, the National Investigation Agency, and the National Security Guard have joined the investigations. Mumbai, Jaipur, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand are on high alert, and so is Bihar, which is set to vote in the second and final round of polling tomorrow. Now, authorities in Kerala have also directed the police to strengthen security across the state.
What is happening in the world of sports? Here is the Sports Roundup.
Sri Lanka under-19 women's team secured a 5-0 series whitewash in the T20 cricket tournament held against the Malaysian women's team. The final match of the series, which was held at the Colts Cricket Ground in Colombo, ended in an 8-wicket win for the hosts. Batting first, the Malaysian team only managed to score 82 runs for the loss of 4 wickets at the end of the allotted 20 overs. The Sri Lankan under-19 team recovered victory with 2 wickets down in 13.5 overs. Sanjana Kavindi scored 45 runs. The shooting competition organised for the 75th anniversary of the Negombo Rifle Sports Club concluded recently. A father, his son and daughter who competed at the event won 3 championships, marking a special incident at the event. Kaushan Samaranayaka of the Negombo Sports Club won the men's championship, while his sister Shamindi Samaranayaka won the women's championship. Their father John Samaranayaka won the first place in the senior category. The Sri Lanka-Pakistan One-Day International Cricket Series will kick off tomorrow in Rawalpindi. The 3-match ODI series is scheduled to be held until the 15th of November. Tomorrow's match will start at 3 p.m. Sri Lankan time. A Tri-Nation T20 tournament featuring Sri Lanka, Pakistan and Zimbabwe is scheduled to commence on the 19th of November. The Morocco under-17 team recorded the biggest victory a team has ever achieved in the history of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup tournament. This was during the 2025 FIFA Under-17 World Cup currently being held in Qatar. Morocco broke a 28-year-old world record, thumping New Caledonia 16-0. Spain previously held the record, having defeated New Zealand 13-0 in 1997.
Today on beautiful Sri Lanka, we take a glimpse into one of Sri Lanka's most expansive wildlife sanctuaries.
Sri Lanka's largest national park, Wilpattu, is often hailed as a sanctuary of untamed beauty where elusive leopards roam and nature thrives in its purest form. It draws both local and international visitors, enchanted by its rich tapestry of wildlife and serene landscapes. Nestled between the borders of Mannar and Vavuniya and stretching across the districts of Puttalam and Anuradhapura, Wilpattu is a living mosaic of biodiversity. Spanning an awe-inspiring 131,990 hectares, Wilpattu stands as one of the most expansive and ecologically significant wildlife reserves in the country, a realm where forest, water and silence converge.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.